Welcome to this deep dive all about restoring relationships and how to do that through God's love.
Yeah, looking at all the stuff you sent over, notes and outlines, and even an ebook outline, it seems like this has really been on your mind lately.
Definitely has. It's something we all think about, right? How to have better relationships with the people we love.
For sure, everyone wants that.
And the biggest thing that jumped out at me from all the material you sent in was this idea that no matter how strained a relationship is, it's not beyond repair.
That's so true, and it's actually a really hopeful idea, isn't it?
Yeah,
That no relationship is hopeless.
absolutely. And the cool thing is, it's not just some fluffy feel-good concept either.
Right, like you were saying, there are real steps you can take,
Yeah.
and like real people who have actually transformed their relationships.
Yeah.
And of course, it's all grounded in that timeless wisdom of the Bible.
Exactly. It's not just some theory, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe we could start with some of the things that can really cause damage in relationships, like those triggers that can fracture a relationship. And one of the first ones that really stuck out to me was unresolved conflict and poor communication.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure.
Like those little hurts and annoyances that we just kind of sweep under the rug.
Right, thinking they'll just magically disappear, but...
Yeah. Like they'll just go away on their own.
Right, but the thing is, they rarely do.
Nope, definitely not.
They tend to kind of fester and grow,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, what started as just this little crack turns into this giant chasm.
Wow, it's like that saying, resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Oh, wow, that's powerful, isn't it? And it really shows how self-destructive it can be to hold on to all that anger.
It really does. And it actually reminds me of one of the stories from the material, Maria's story.
Oh, yeah, what happened with her?
So she and her daughter had this huge fight about money, and they didn't speak for 2 years.
Oh my gosh, 2 years, that's awful.
It's heartbreaking, right? Imagine 2 years of silence with your own child, but then Maria decided to write her daughter a letter.
Oh.
And it was just this really simple act of humility, and it completely changed everything.
It's amazing how a simple act like that can just
I know.
break down those walls that we build up.
Totally. And it really shows the power of taking that first step, being the one to reach out.
Absolutely. And I think Maria's advice in the story was so insightful. She said, start with humility, listen more, defend less.
Yeah, that's so good. So good.
Sometimes we just get so caught up in wanting to be heard that we forget to actually listen to the other person.
It's so true. And it's funny because I was thinking about times when I've really messed up in a relationship, and my instinct is always just to explain myself.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like to justify my actions. But really what I should be doing is just shutting up and listening.
Yeah, really listening and trying to understand the other person's perspective.
Yeah. Exactly. And that takes a lot of courage, to just set aside your own ego and really listen.
It does. It really does.
And speaking of taking action, there's this idea in the material called the 24-hour rule.
Oh, I've heard of that. What is it again?
It's this idea that you shouldn't let the sun set on your anger.
Oh, right.
So basically address those hurts and conflicts as soon as possible.
So you don't let them fester and grow.
Yeah. And it even gives you like a little script for reaching out. Something like, can we talk? I value us more than being right.
I love that. And that really gets at the heart of it, prioritizing the relationship over your own ego.
Yeah, it's huge.
Absolutely.
So, okay, we've talked about unresolved conflict. What about unforgiveness and resentment?
Oh, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. But it made me think of that saying about holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else, but you're the one who gets burned.
Oh, that's so true.
Right. And there's this story about a guy named James, and his brother totally betrayed him in business, like really did him dirty. And James was just consumed by bitterness for years.
Oh, wow, that's rough.
It is. And it's so easy to get trapped in those feelings like you're punishing the other person, but really you're just torturing yourself.
And James realized that, right?
He did. He had this turning point when he read Matthew 18.21-22, which talks about forgiving 70 times 7. Like, talk about setting the bar high.
Wow, 70 times 7. That's a lot of forgiving.
I know, right? And that's when James realized that forgiveness wasn't about letting his brother off the hook. It was about setting himself free.
Yeah, it's not about them, it's about you.
Exactly. And so instead of plotting revenge, he actually started praying for his brother's blessings.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Talk about a transformation.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it really shows how powerful forgiveness can be.
Absolutely.
It's funny because it's like that blessing journal idea from the material.
Oh, yeah. What was that again?
So the idea is to write down one kind thing about the person who hurt you every single day. I like that. Can you imagine how that would change your whole outlook?
I bet it would. Instead of dwelling on all the negative stuff, you're forcing yourself to see something good in them.
Exactly. It's like intentionally shifting your focus, which can be so hard, but so important.
Yeah, like retraining your brain.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
So, we've covered unresolved conflict, unforgiveness. What's the next big relationship hurdle?
Well, this one they call relationship kryptonite.
Oh no, what is it?
Pride.
Oh yeah.
It's not hard to see why, though, is it?
No, not at all. When you let pride take over, it's like you're constantly battling to be right.
Right, and it's like a competition of who's been wronged more.
Yeah, and nobody wins.
Nope, everybody loses.
You know, and it makes me wonder though, is it even possible to be humble when you feel like you've been deeply wronged?
Such a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It feels almost impossible.
But that's where faith comes in, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, one of the stories that really illustrates this is the story of Sarah and Mark.
Oh, what happened with them?
So they were married, but they were constantly blaming each other. And it was like their whole marriage was just this competition, you know?
Oh, no.
And it eventually led to divorce.
Oh, wow.
But then someone introduced them to this verse, Philippians 2:3, and it really changed everything for them.
Oh, what does that one say?
It says, "Let each esteem others better than themselves."
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
It is, and it became the foundation for them to rebuild their relationship.
So instead of tearing each other down, they started building each other up.
Exactly. It's amazing what a difference that simple shift in perspective can make.
And get this, they actually ended up remarrying.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
It really is, like a real-life testament to the power of humility.
It's proof that even when pride has totally wrecked a relationship, there's still hope.
Yeah, for sure. And there's this challenge they talk about in the material called the Servant Challenge.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that. What was it again?
So for one whole week, you do one selfless act every single day for the person you're estranged from.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Right, like even if it's just something small like making them coffee or praying for them,
Yeah,
it's all about shifting your mindset from me to you.
I love that. It's like taking action to change your heart.
Yeah. And I think it can really help to break down those walls of resentment and anger.
Absolutely. When you're intentionally doing something kind for someone,
Yeah.
it's hard to stay stuck in that negative space.
So true, so true. And I think that leads perfectly into the final trigger that we wanted to talk about, which is past trauma and the fear of vulnerability.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes our relationship struggles aren't just about the current situation, they're about those deeper wounds that we're carrying with us.
Right. It's like those past hurts can make it so hard to open yourself up to the possibility of being hurt again.
Yeah, totally. You end up building walls instead of bridges.
Exactly. And this is where Rebecca's story really spoke to me.
Oh, what happened to Rebecca?
So she grew up in a really difficult family environment, and she just had this deep-seated fear of being vulnerable, especially with her husband.
Oh, man, that's so tough.
It is, and for a long time, she let that fear control her. But then she found this verse, 2 Timothy 1:7, and it totally changed her perspective.
Oh, what does it say?
It says, "God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind."
Wow, that's beautiful.
It is, and it really resonated with Rebecca because it reminded her that she didn't have to let fear run her life.
Yeah, like God was giving her permission to be brave.
Exactly. And so she started taking these baby steps towards vulnerability with her husband.
Like what?
Well, they started having these weekly heart check-ins where they would each share one vulnerable thought with each other, judgment-free.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
It is, and they called it their Safe Space Pact.
Ah, I love that. It's like creating this little bubble of safety where you can be completely open and honest with each other.
Yeah. And it wasn't always easy for them, but they kept at it, and it really helped them to build a deeper level of trust and intimacy.
That's awesome. And you know what Rebecca said? She said, God's love casts out fear, but I have to open the door.
Oh, that's so good. It's like she had to choose to step into that space of love.
Yeah. And that's a powerful message for all of us, isn't it?
Absolutely. If we want to experience real connection and healing, we have to be willing to be vulnerable.
We can't let fear win.
Right. We have to choose love over fear.
So, okay, we've explored 4 major triggers that can really damage relationships. Unresolved conflict, unforgiveness, pride, and past trauma.
Yeah, those are some heavy hitters.
They really are. But the good news is that we've also seen how to overcome these challenges, through practical steps and the wisdom of the Bible.
And I think that's what makes this whole topic so hopeful.
Right, like even when things feel really broken, there's always a path towards healing.
Always, always.
And I think a lot of that guidance comes directly from the Bible.
Yeah, for sure.
As we were talking about these triggers, I couldn't help but notice how many of them are addressed directly in Scripture.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing how relevant those ancient teachings still are today.
It really is. It's like this timeless wisdom that can speak to our modern struggles.
Like it was written just for us,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're going to dive into next.
Sounds good to me.
We're going to explore those key biblical teachings that can guide us on this journey of restoring relationships through God's love.
Let's do it.
Awesome. As we were talking about all these triggers in relationships, the thing that I noticed was how many of them are actually addressed in the Bible.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like all these ancient principles, they're still so relevant today,
Totally. It's amazing how timeless that wisdom really is.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to relationships. I mean, the Bible has some really profound stuff to say about how we treat each other.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like even that verse we mentioned before, Matthew 18.21-2, where Jesus says we should forgive 70 times, 7 times.
Oh, yeah, that one's a doozy.
I know, right? Talk about setting the bar high.
It's a lot of forgiving.
So much forgiving, more than I can even imagine.
But it really emphasizes how central that idea of forgiveness is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not just a one-time thing.
And it's a theme that you see throughout Scripture. Like in Colossians 3.13, it says, forbearing one another and forgiving one another, even as Christ forgave you.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Like we're called to extend that same grace and forgiveness that we've received,
It's like a chain reaction of forgiveness.
Yeah, exactly. Passing it on.
But honestly, sometimes it just feels so impossible, Especially when you've been really hurt by someone.
Oh, totally. I get that.
It's like, how am I supposed to just let that go?
Yeah, and I don't think it's about condoning the wrong or anything like that. It's more about releasing yourself a burden of that anger.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a process. It's not like you can just flip a switch and suddenly you're over it.
No, for sure.
But I think that's where those practical steps like that blessing journal can be so helpful.
Yeah. They make it more tangible,
Yeah.
It's not just this abstract concept anymore.
Exactly. Like instead of dwelling on all the ways you've been hurt, you're actively choosing to see a glimmer of good in that person.
Yeah. And that can make such a difference in how you feel.
It really can. It's like changing your perspective.
And it reminds me of that verse, Ephesians 4.26-27, where it says, let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. We need to address those hurts quickly before they have a chance to fester and grow.
Yeah, don't let that resentment take root.
It's almost like we're giving the devil a foothold, an invitation to come in and mess things up.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And speaking of addressing things head on, there's that verse in Matthew 5.23-24, where Jesus talks about reconciliation,
Yeah, what does he say?
So it's like, if you're about to make an offering at the altar, but you remember that someone has something against you, first you go and be reconciled with them, Like put that relationship above everything else.
Wow, that's putting it into perspective, isn't it?
Right. It shows how central reconciliation is to our spiritual lives, Like you can't really move forward in your relationship with God if you're holding on to all this baggage in your relationships with others.
It makes sense. You got to clear the air first.
For sure.
And this actually ties in with another one of those relationship kryptonite triggers we talked about before.
Oh, which one?
Pride.
Oh, right. Pride. Yeah.
Like Proverbs 13.10 says, only by pride cometh contention.
That's the worst, isn't it? Like pride just leads to so much conflict and division.
Yeah, it really does. But thankfully, like we talked about before, we've got humility as the antidote.
Yeah, humility's huge.
Right. And that verse from Philippians 2.3, really sums it up nicely. Let each esteem others better than themselves.
Oh, that's so good.
It's like completely shifting your focus from yourself to the other person.
Which is so hard to do.
It really is.
But so important. Like the servant challenge is all about that.
Yeah.
Putting that principle into action.
Yeah. And it's amazing how something so simple, like doing a selfless act for someone, can actually have such a profound impact on your heart.
It really can. It's like breaking that cycle of selfishness and hurt.
Totally. And it reminds me of Rebecca's story, the woman who struggled with vulnerability because of her past trauma.
Oh, yeah. What was that verse that really helped her?
2 Timothy 1.7.
Oh, right. What was it again?
It says, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
I love that verse. It's so empowering, isn't it? Like God is saying, hey, I've got your back. You don't have to let fear control you.
And it really emphasizes how important it is to choose vulnerability, even when it's scary.
Because that's where the real healing happens, when we allow ourselves to be seen, to be known, even the messy parts.
And that safe space pact is such a beautiful example of that, creating that environment of trust and safety where you can be completely open with each other.
Yeah, judgment-free.
Yeah, and I think that's something we all crave, that deep sense of connection and belonging.
Absolutely. We all want to feel loved and accepted for who we are.
And there's another verse that really captures this idea, 1 Peter 4:8.
What does it say?
It says, "Love shall cover the multitude of sins."
I love that. It's like love is this all-encompassing force that can heal even the deepest wounds.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just a feeling, it's a choice, an action.
Right. It's about intentionally choosing to love, even when it's hard.
So we've got all this incredible wisdom from the Bible, plus all these practical steps and inspiring stories.
You've got a lot to work with.
But there's one more piece to the puzzle, right?
Oh, you're right, the ebook.
The ebook, Mended, 30 Days to Heal Relationships Through God's Love.
That's it.
And it's like this companion guide to everything we've been talking about.
It really is, like taking this deep dive to the next level,
So what can we expect to find inside?
Well, it's packed with goodies. There's daily devotionals, reflection questions to really help you process these concepts. And even some scripts to help you navigate those tough conversations.
So it's not just about reading, it's about doing.
Exactly.
I love that.
It's about putting all this wisdom into action.
And the best part is it's free.
Totally free. So if you're feeling inspired and ready to start rebuilding those broken relationships, I highly recommend checking out the ebook.
Awesome. So we've explored all these triggers that can break relationships. We've uncovered all this amazing wisdom from the Bible. And now we've even got this fantastic ebook to guide us on our journey of healing. But what does it all mean? Like, what's the big takeaway for our listener today?
That's a good question. The core message, I think, that resonates throughout all of this is that with God, restoring relationships is possible. It might not be easy, it might take time and effort, but there's always hope.
Yeah, and what I love is that it's not just some vague wishful thinking. It's grounded in practical steps, real-life experiences, and of course, the timeless wisdom of Scripture. It's like a roadmap for healing and reconciliation.
Exactly.
But ultimately, journey starts with each individual.
That's true. We have to choose to take those first steps.
What steps are you willing to take to mend those broken bridges in your own life?
Right. Which of those relationship kryptonite traits are you holding on to?
And which practical step resonates most with you and the relationship you want to restore?
Yeah, those are great questions to think about.
I think so too.
Don't be afraid to dig deep and really get honest with yourself.
Yeah, that's where the real transformation begins.
And remember, taking that first step towards healing and connection is an act of courage and love, and God will be there to guide you every step of the way.
So, as we wrap up this whole deep dive into restoring relationships, I can't help but think about how much ground we've covered.
Yeah, we really went through a lot, didn't we? From those triggers that can cause so much damage, like unresolved conflict and, holding on to anger, all the way to those amazing stories of people who've actually been able to transform their relationships.
Yeah, those were so inspiring.
They really were.
And, we've talked about how important it is to not let things fester.
Right, to address those hurts quickly.
Before they turn into something bigger.
Like that quote we talked about, resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Ugh. Yeah, that's a powerful image.
It really is, and it reminds me of that 24-hour rule.
Yeah.
Don't let the sun set on your anger.
Yeah, that's a good one. But sometimes it's hard, like how do you even start that conversation, especially when you're still feeling hurt and angry?
Oh, absolutely. It can be so awkward and uncomfortable, but I think that's where having a script can be helpful.
Yeah, like what? Well, remember that when they suggested in the material, can we talk? I value us more than being right.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it really gets to the heart of it,
Yeah, it's like putting the relationship first.
Exactly. And setting aside your ego.
Which is so much easier said than done, by the way.
Oh, totally. It takes a lot of humility.
And speaking of humility, remember that other relationship kryptonite we talked about?
Pride.
Pride, yep.
Ugh, that one can be so sneaky.
It really can.
Like it pretends to be all about protecting yourself, but really it just ends up pushing people away.
It's so true, and it can be so hard to recognize in ourselves, too.
Oh yeah, for sure. We all have blind spots.
But the good news is, we don't have to let these triggers control us, you know?
Yeah.
We have the power to choose a different path, a path of healing and reconciliation.
And a big part of that is choosing vulnerability.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Like Rebecca's story, She was so afraid to open up to her husband because of all the hurt she'd experienced in the past.
Right, she had those walls built up around her heart.
But she found the courage to take those first steps towards vulnerability, and it completely transformed their relationship.
And that verse from 2 Timothy 1:7 was so important for her to remember. God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
It's like a reminder that we don't have to let fear run our lives.
Right. God gives us the strength to overcome those fears.
And the love, too.
Yes. The love to connect with others in a deeper way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to say, if you're struggling in your relationships, don't give up hope.
There's always a way back, always a path towards healing.
Remember that image from the material? God is in the restoration business.
Oh, yeah. I love that one. It's so hopeful, isn't it?
It really is, and it reminds us that we're not alone in this journey, God is right there with us, ready to help us rebuild.
And he gives us all these tools to do it, too, like the Blessing Journal, the Servant Challenge.
The Safe Space Pack.
And, of course, the wisdom of the Bible. It's all right there for us.
So, what will you choose? Will you choose to stay stuck in the pain and resentment, or will you choose to step into the healing that God offers?
It's a choice we all have to make.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into restoring relationships through God's love. We hope it's giving you some practical tools and encouragement to start rebuilding those vital connections in your life.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. God is with you every step of the way.
Until next time, keep seeking grace and growth in all your relationships.